Yeah, good day, everyone. Look, I've got a good associate mate of mine, Mark Balla. How are you, Mark?
Yeah, nice to be here, Wayne. Good to see you.
Good, mate. So I've contacted Mark because I've got one of our special iceberg swimmers, Andrew Morrison, is doing his, I think it might be his 26th Melbourne Marathon, and I've run with him quite a bit. And he's one of these characters that after about 4K, he just has to go. And when I say that, I mean go to the loo. So, Mark, that's why I've contacted you, mate, because you're doing some fantastic stuff in India in building toilets in quite impoverished areas. So, can you just give us a thumbnail sketch what you're up to over there, how it all happened, and what's going on?
Yeah, so look, it all started about, I guess, 12 years ago for us. I was in India on business. I was on the board of an Australian-Indian joint venture and had a bit of time to spare one day. And I met a couple of young guys who took me to a community where they lived, which was a slum. And looking through this slum, massive place, by the way, about twice the size of Albert Park Lake with 1 million people in it. We went into a school, and the school had lots of little boys and little girls and lots of teenage boys, but there were no teenage girls in the school. And they told me it was because the school had no toilets. Hard to imagine, really. It's a bit like a car without wheels in Australia. So,
Yeah,
but you know,
that's something we take for granted too, isn't it?
that's
So,
right. That's right. Yeah. And so, yeah, got to first of all talking to some people back home in Australia about it, including I don't know if people here know your friend and mine, Will Heiner, a good friend of ours from the business world, and from the occasional trip to a bar for a beer or two.
yeah,
Uh, and we decided we wanted to do something about this together, and so we got together with a Rotary Club in India and a Rotary Club in Australia, and before we knew it, we funded our first 15 toilets in a school over there about 2014, where those schools were open.
yeah.
And yeah, it's sort of got a life of its own, and now I'm running out of fingers to count.
Well, that's great. So I think I'm going to put it out there that if we're able to raise around, say, $3,000, where would that money go to, mate?
Yeah, so look, we've got a really exciting project that we're just starting to develop at the moment in the Indian state of Rajasthan, which is generally a very patriarchal society, but we've found this absolute gem of a village, uh, which has some problems. I think most villages in India do. That's just life in the developing world. But this village uh, has a guy who lives there who has basically become a folk hero in India. He's known around the country as India's father of ecofeminism. Uh, it's a it's a very sad story that his daughter died some 20 years ago, and he decided to do something in her memory. So he started planting trees, and then every time a little girl was born or started school or had a special birthday, he'd keep on planting trees. And first, just for these events happening in his village, but then he'd hear about a friend in another village having a
Yeah.
baby girl, whatever, and they planted 1.3 million trees now.
Wow.
And then they started planting aloe vera plants around the trees to keep the termites away. And then they developed this little business model out of it, which would uh, give money into the community and also money for the girls as they reach the end of their education. And it's kind of just grown from there. But one thing that's still missing in this village, the school toilets. There's
Yeah.
10 schools and the toilets are not in good condition. And they are absolutely ready for this to change. And that's something we can take on.
That's fantastic, mate. And typically, you got a lot of humility about you, because I know that in India, you're known as the toilet warrior.
There you go,
So,
down my bottom left of my name there.
because of all the good work that you've done in putting toilets into schools. So, firstly, I'd like to say well done for that. In fact, I know also that you've met with the Indian Prime Minister,
Yeah,
who seems to be quite impressed with what you're doing. So, we've certainly got the right person here in terms of making a difference to people in India. So, Mark, I just want to say thanks for your time today,
yeah.
and we'll certainly put it out there, and we'll put that $3,000 figure out there. And I think in conversation before, you said that would build two toilets,
Couple of
uh,
toilets, yep.
or a training program, education program for the teachers to be able to teach all the kids about hygiene and the rest of it. So,
Yeah, yeah.
thanks again for your time, mate, and look forward to getting some dollars for the foundation.
Yeah, and perhaps doing a trip to India together when the project's completed. Wouldn't that be great?
Good on you, mate. Thanks
Thanks.
again, mate.
See you.
See you
Bye.
later.